Welcome to True Betrayal Stories, where secrets are exposed, lies unravel, and justice is served. If you love shocking betrayal stories and satisfying revenge, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss an update. What if the person you love most asked you to rewrite the rules of your heart? Imagine coming home after a long day, expecting a warm dinner and a familiar smile, only to find your life upended by a single sentence. That's where Jake Thompson found himself one chilly October evening in Denver, Colorado. The air carried the sharp bite of fall, and the faint glow of downtown lights filtered through the blinds of his craftsman-style home. Attitudes 42, Jake, a financial analyst with a penchant for hiking, trudged through the front door, his briefcase heavy, his mind on the leftover chili he hoped was waiting. Instead, his wife of 12 years, Amelia, stood at the kitchen counter, her dark curls pulled back, her expression a mix of resolve and nerves. "Jake, can we talk?" Amelia's voice was steady, but her fingers twisted a dish towel, betraying her calm. The kitchen smelled of fresh basil from her garden, a scent that usually meant comfort, but now felt like a cruel irony. Jake's stomach knotted. He'd read enough forums to know "we need to talk" was rarely good news. He sank into a chair at the pine table, its scratches a map of their shared life. Spilled wine from their 10th anniversary, crayon marks from a neighbor's kid. "What's going on?" he asked, bracing himself. Amelia sat across from him, her hazel eyes catching the light. "I love you, Jake," she began, her words careful, like she was stepping around broken glass. "You know I'd never do anything to hurt us. I want to grow old with you, Jake." Jake's pulse quickened. The "but" hung unspoken, heavy as the Rockies outside. He nodded, urging her on, though dread coiled in his chest. She took a deep breath, her hands clasped tight. "I've met someone. His name's Ryan Carter. I want to explore something with him. Just physical, nothing more. I'd always be honest with you. I love you enough to know this won't change what we have. If you love me, you'll see why I need this." Her smile was fragile, a plea for understanding, but it landed like a punch. Jake's world tilted. Amelia, his Amelia, who'd danced barefoot with him at Red Rocks concerts, who'd cried with him when their dog, Scout, had surgery, was asking to sleep with another man? His mind flashed to their wedding, her laugh as they smeared cake on each other's faces. Now, that memory burned. "Let me get this straight," he said, his voice low, trembling. "You love me. You don't want to ruin us, but you want to sleep with Ryan?" "It's not like that," she said, wincing at his tone. "It's just an urge, something separate. I'd come home to you." Jake leaned back, the chair creaking. He thought of his buddy Tom, who'd crumbled after his wife's affair, spending nights at dive bars off Colfax Avenue. Jake wouldn't let that be him. "Have you already planned this?" he asked, his throat tight. Amelia nodded, almost relieved. "We're thinking next weekend, a quick trip to Boulder." Her confidence, her disregard for his heart, stung deeper than her words. Jake's mind raced. He pictured Ryan, a slick coworker Amelia had mentioned, always quick with a charming grin. "How would you feel if I said I wanted to sleep with someone else?" he asked, locking eyes with her. "Would you be fine with that?" Amelia's lips parted, her hesitation loud. I'd understand if you promised it wouldn't change us," she said, but her voice cracked, a lie she couldn't sell. Jake knew her temper. She'd once snapped when he left dishes in the sink too long. The idea of her shrugging off his infidelity was absurd. "You'd lose your mind, Amelia," he scoffed, anger flaring. "Don't lie to me." Her eyes widened, hurt flickering across her face. "I didn't think you'd get this angry," she said softly. "I thought you'd love me enough to let me have this." Jake's laugh was sharp, bouncing off the kitchen tiles. "What, you thought I'd say, 'Go screw Ryan, I'll wait with Scout'? Did you think I'd plan your getaway playlist?" Amelia's shoulders sagged. "Maybe I didn't think it through," she admitted, barely audible. "I just need this, Jake." "You didn't think about me at all," he said, his voice breaking. "If I say no, are you still doing it?" "I don't know," she said, eyes darting to the floor. "I didn't expect you to refuse." "You expected wrong." Jake stood, the chair scraping loudly. "I need time. Let's talk Sunday afternoon. You've gutted me tonight." He turned toward their bedroom, then stopped. Sleeping beside her, knowing her thoughts were on Ryan, felt like swallowing glass. "I'm taking the guest room," he said, grabbing a blanket. Amelia followed, her brow furrowed. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice small. "I can't sleep next to you when you're thinking of him," Jake said, slamming the guest room door. The lock clicked, a tiny rebellion. That night he stared at the ceiling, Denver's hum faint outside. He replayed their life, ski trips to Breckenridge, late night talks about kids they might have, rebuilding after a hailstorm trashed their roof. Could she toss that away so easily? By morning he knew, if Amelia went through with this, they were done. Next day Jake left without a word, his silence a wall. He called work, taking 2 personal days, then hit an electronics shop on Broadway. A clerk with a man bun helped him grab 3 voice-activated recorders in a phone tap. Jake's hands shook, but his purpose solidified. He wasn't just collecting proof, he was fighting for his dignity. At home he hid a recorder by the phone, another in their bedroom under a nightstand, and one in Amelia's Jeep, wedged in a crevice. The phone tap went in, its wires a promise of truth. At the cell provider, he pulled Amelia's call logs, spotting unfamiliar numbers. Her new email account was a shock, but her password, Scout's adoption date, was no surprise. Inside, he found a goldmine. Flirty emails with Ryan, planning their Boulder weekend. They hadn't slept together yet, but their intent was clear. Jake set the account to forward to himself, invisible to her. He bought 2 GPS trackers, one for her wallet, one for her car, at a spy shop, their size perfect for stealth. Back home, he saw Ryan's email confirming room 108 at Boulder's St. Julian Hotel. Jake's anger surged, but he saw a chance. He booked the same room for Thursday and a nearby one for the weekend, close enough for his devices to work. That night, Amelia tried chatting over tacos, but Jake ignored her, retreating to the guest room with a slammed door. He thought of his dad, who'd left after Mom's fling, starting fresh in Wyoming. Jake wanted that strength. Amelia had one shot to save them, cancel her plans. He doubted she would. Friday, Jake met a divorce lawyer, Miss Ellen Vaughn, a brisk woman with sharp eyes. He showed her the emails, logs, and his recorder plan. "Adultery's solid grounds," Ellen said, nodding. "Who's the guy?" "Ryan Carter," Jake said, jaw clenched. "I want to sue him for alienation of affection." "Get me those tapes and we're set," she said, smiling faintly. Over the weekend, Jake's silence grew heavier. Amelia's small talk, about Scout's new toy, a co-worker's drama, bounced off him. Sunday, they sat at the kitchen table, tension thick as fog. Jake spoke first, his voice steady but raw. "I've thought about this, Amelia. I can't say yes. You think this won't hurt us, but it already has. Look at us." Amelia's eyes flashed. "You're not even trying to see my side. If you loved me, you'd get it." "Love doesn't mean letting you break our vows," Jake said, voice rising. "You're the one being selfish, acting like our marriage is disposable." "What if I go anyway?" she asked, defiant. Jake's heart cracked. "There'll be consequences. We promised to be exclusive 12 years ago. I meant it." "Did you?" "I need this," she whispered. "Then we're done here." Jake walked out, driving to a Lodo cafe with Wi-Fi. Amelia's email showed her fury, vowing to go with Ryan despite Jake's plea. Ryan had booked room 108, with plans for a fancy dinner at Flagstaff House. Amelia mentioned new lingerie, a detail that twisted Jake's gut. He reserved a table at the same restaurant, his plan sharpening. Have you ever built a castle of love only to watch it crumble under the weight of a single truth? That's where Alex Harper found himself, standing in the wreckage of a romance that once felt like destiny. At 27, Alex, a Denver-based barista with a poet's soul, thought he'd found his muse in Mia Sullivan, a 26-year-old graphic designer whose smile could warm the chilliest mile-high mornings. Their year together was a tapestry of laughter and light, until a confession tore it apart, leaving Alex to navigate the shadows of betrayal. It all began in a quirky Capitol Hill cafe, where the aroma of fresh espresso mingled with the strum of acoustic guitar from a corner performer. Alex, wiry and earnest, with ink-stained fingers from late-night journaling, met Mia during an open mic night. Her quick wit and sapphire eyes hooked him, and soon they were sharing everything. Sunrise jogs along Cherry Creek, impromptu dance parties in her loft, whispered dreams of a future filled with art and adventure. Mia's laugh was a melody, her teasing about Alex's burnt pancakes a running joke. For Alex, who'd grown up patching the wounds of his parents' divorce, Mia felt like home. 5 months in, Mia invited Alex to her apartment, a cozy space cluttered with sketchbooks and fairy lights. The air smelled of her favorite vanilla candle, but her hands fidgeted as she sat him down on the sagging couch. "Alex, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice low, eyes avoiding his. "When we started dating, I was still with someone else, a guy named Connor. I ended it right after we got serious, but I didn't tell you because I didn't want to lose you." Alex's heart plummeted. His mom's affair had left his dad a ghost, working double shifts to escape the pain, and Alex had vowed never to trust someone who blurred those lines. Mia's confession, even if past, felt like a crack in their foundation. "Why now?" he asked, his voice tight, the candle's flicker suddenly oppressive. "Because I love you," Mia said, reaching for his hand, her fingers trembling. "I want us to be honest. No shadows between us." Alex pulled away, the room shrinking. He thought of his friend Sam, who'd stayed with a partner who cheated, only to be burned again, his confidence shredded. "I need time," Alex said, grabbing his jacket and stepping into Denver's brisk night. The city's hum, cars on Spear Boulevard, distant laughter from a bar, felt hollow. For 2 weeks, he wrestled with his heart, replaying Mia's kindness, the way she'd surprised him with a hand-painted mug, her patience when he rambled about obscure poets. Could he let her go over a mistake she'd owned? Mia's texts piled up, apologies turning to pleas. "I can't imagine life without you," she wrote, her words glowing on his phone in the dark. Against his instincts, Alex agreed to meet her at City Park, where joggers and dog walkers bustled under golden aspens. Mia stood by the lake, her auburn hair catching the sun, tears streaking her freckled cheeks. "I'll never hurt you again, Alex," she promised, her voice breaking. "I was scared to tell you, but I'm all in now." Alex's resolve wavered. He wanted their dream. Gallery openings, road trips to Taos, a life woven together. He nodded, pulling her into a hesitant hug, the scent of her jasmine perfume grounding him. They rebuilt slowly, cautious but hopeful, like gardeners tending a storm-battered plot. Months later, Mia mentioned a weekend trip to Fort Collins for a design conference. Alex's gut twisted. Connor, her ex, lived there, a detail she'd let slip once. His mom's old excuses, just a work thing, echoed in his mind, and the unease grew, sharp as the wind off the Rockies. Over dinner at a Lodo taco joint, he asked, "Are you seeing Connor up there?" His voice was calm, but his fork stilled. Mia's eyes flared, a spark of anger he'd never seen. "How can you even think that?" she snapped, her voice slicing through the restaurant's chatter. "I told you everything, and you're still suspicious?" Alex froze. They'd never fought, always dissolving tiffs with a quip or a kiss. This fury, raw and unfamiliar, shook him. She tossed her napkin down, paid her half, and left, the doors jingle mocking him. Days later, Mia called, her tone clipped. "I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me, Alex. We're done." The words landed like a dropped glass, sharp and final. Stunned, Alex agreed, initiating no contact, hoping space would cool her anger. He threw himself into work, steaming milk and scribbling poems on napkins. But Denver's vibrancy felt muted without her. A week later, scrolling social media in his dim apartment, Alex froze. Mia's profile picture had changed. Her and Connor, laughing at a Fort Collins cidery, their arms entwined. He refreshed, and the photo vanished, blocked from his view, but mutual friends confirmed it was public, a bold declaration. Alex's chest ached, denial warring with truth. He pictured confronting her, demanding answers, or even rejecting her pleas to reunite. A petty victory. But she was gone, a ghost in his feed. He thought of his sister Lily, who'd clawed her way back from a toxic ex, finding peace in yoga and new dreams. Alex wanted that strength, but Mia's memory clung like damp fog. He joined a pottery class in Rhino, hoping to mold his pain into something tangible. There he met Zoe, a quiet sculptor with a warm laugh, who'd survived her own heartbreak. Over clay-stained hands, she shared her story, a fiancé who'd lied for years. "You're not defined by her choices," Zoe said one night, shaping a vase under the studio's soft lights. Alex leaned into small steps. Open mic nights at Mercury Cafe, hikes up Mount Falcon, journal entries that bled less each day. He still caught himself checking Mia's profile, hoping for an unblock, an explanation, but Zoe's words echoed, "You're enough without her." Denver's skyline, glittering beyond his window, whispered of second chances. Healing felt like climbing a peak, slow, grueling, but possible. One evening, sharing beers with Zoe after class, Alex felt a spark. Not love, not yet, but hope. The city's pulse urged him forward, a reminder that his story wasn't over. Ever had a feeling in your bones that something's wrong, no matter how perfect things seem? For Chloe Bennett, 30, that gut instinct became a lighthouse, guiding her through the stormy unraveling of her long-distance romance with Dylan Moore, 34. In Denver's bustling heart, where coffee shops hum and mountains loom, Chloe learned that love can blind you, but intuition cuts through the fog. Chloe, a pediatric nurse with a knack for finding joy in chaos, met Dylan on a gaming app during a late-night quest. His sharp humor and gravelly voice hooked her, a spark across digital miles. Dylan, a tech consultant, had just moved to Seattle for a dream job, but their connection defied distance. At 30, Chloe, who'd weathered her share of flings, felt ready for something real. Their video calls stretched into dawn, laughing over bad horror flicks, planning visits, even dreaming of a wedding with Denver's skyline as a backdrop. Dylan's charm was effortless, his stories of a scrappy childhood in Tacoma making Chloe root for him. He introduced her to his mom via Zoom, a warm woman who mailed Chloe homemade cookies, sealing the deal. This was serious. Their first year was a roller coaster, highs of virtual date nights, lows of missed calls when Dylan's work swallowed him. Lately, those lows deepened. Dylan's texts grew sparse, his warmth flickering like a faulty bulb. Chloe's intuition, sharp from years of reading patients' unspoken pain, flared. She recalled her brother Nate, warning her about his ex's subtle lies, a lesson Chloe now felt in her gut. One sleepless night, scrolling the dating app where they'd met, she reactivated her profile on a whim. There was Dylan's, updated with a new photo, him grinning at a Seattle pier, time-stamped last week. Her heart sank, the city's hum outside her low-high apartment suddenly too loud. Chloe didn't confront him outright. Over a grainy video call, she suggested a couple's reset, deleting their dating profiles together, a symbolic fresh start. "I don't use it," Dylan said, his tone sharp, eyes darting off screen. "Forgot the password anyway." Her unease grew, a knot tightening. "I've got a bad feeling, Dylan," she said, voice steady despite her racing pulse. He exploded, his voice booming through her laptop. "You're paranoid, Chloe. I'm done with this." The call cut off, his face gone, leaving her staring at a blank screen. Chloe's breath caught. She'd never heard him yell, not even during their worst spats, like when she'd missed his birthday call for a hospital shift. His silence stretched, ignoring her follow-up texts, a wall she couldn't scale. Days later, he called back, calm but cold, brushing off her concerns with a rehearsed, "Work's been nuts." Chloe nodded along, but the knot in her gut tightened. She thought of her coworker Emma, who'd caught her boyfriend cheating via a friend's tip, rebuilding with fierce independence. Chloe needed truth, not hope. On instinct, she messaged a mutual contact on Dylan's social media, a Seattle photographer named Lauren. Chloe's text was casual, asking how Lauren knew Dylan, but her fingers trembled as she hit send. Lauren replied quickly, claiming Dylan was just a friend. Chloe pressed gently, sharing her worry. After a long pause, Lauren's confession spilled out. "He's been talking to me like he's single, Chloe. Said he's free, no commitments." She sent screenshots. Dylan's flirty texts, promises of visits, even talk of meeting her family, echoing the dreams he'd fed Chloe. Worse, he'd called Chloe needy behind her back, a knife twist. Lauren admitted Dylan knew about Chloe's message and had lashed out, berating both women, calling Chloe unhinged. Chloe's world tilted. She sat on her balcony, Denver's lights blurring through tears, the mountain air cold against her skin. The screenshots burned, dates aligning with Dylan's busy nights, words mirroring his early pursuit of her. Minutes later, her phone rang. Dylan's name flashed, his voice tight, a suppressed storm. "Got something to say, Chloe?" he asked, dodging her questions about Lauren. "Why are you calling?" she countered, her voice steady despite the ache. "What's going on with you and her?" The call spiraled, Dylan accusing her of digging dirt without admitting fault. "You're too much," he snapped. "Then, we're done." He hung up, and by the time Chloe redialed, he'd blocked her. Phone, socials, everything. Her apartment felt too small, the hum of the fridge mocking her shock. She scrolled Lauren's screenshots again, each word a confirmation. Dylan had played her, weaving the same promises to another while tearing her down. Chloe thought of her dad, who'd rebuilt after a divorce by coaching Little League, finding purpose in community. She wanted that resilience, but Dylan's betrayal clung like smoke. She started journaling, spilling her hurt onto pages, and confided in Emma, who dragged her to a Wash Park volleyball game. "He's not your story's end," Emma said, spiking a ball with a grin. Chloe joined a hiking group, trekking Green Mountains trails, the crunch of gravel grounding her. She met Tara, a ranger who'd survived a similar deceit, swapping stories over campfire coffee. "Your gut saved you," Tara said, tossing a stick into the flames. "Trust it now." Nights were harder, Denver's skyline a reminder of dreams she'd pinned on Dylan. She wondered why he'd lied. Fear, ego, or something deeper, tied to the insecurities he'd hinted at in late-night talks. It didn't matter. Chloe's intuition, once a warning, now urged her forward. She volunteered at a children's clinic, her laughter with patience a balm. Healing felt like stitching a wound, slow, deliberate, but real. One evening, watching the sunset from Lookout Mountain, Chloe felt a shift, not closure, but possibility. Denver's vastness promised new chapters, and she was ready to write them, one truthful step at a time. What do you do when betrayal leaves you hollow, yet the world keeps turning, whispering of second chances? In Denver, where the Rockies stand like quiet guardians and the city's pulse beats with possibility, three souls, Jake, Alex, and Chloe, found themselves weaving new threads from the ashes of broken trust. Their stories, born in pain, converged in a place that thrives on renewal, proving that even the deepest wounds can birth something beautiful. Jake Thompson, now 42, stood in the quiet of his Denver home, the echo of Amelia's departure a fading scar. The house felt too big without her laughter, Scout's paws clicking on hardwood, a bittersweet comfort. One crisp evening, Jake wandered into a Five Points jazz club, drawn by the wail of a saxophone that matched his ache. The room smelled of bourbon and old wood, its dim lights softening the edges of his grief. At the bar, he met Lena Brooks, a 41-year-old chef with chestnut curls and a laugh that cut through the gloom. Over drinks, they traded stories. Lena's divorce from a husband who'd hidden a gambling addiction, Jake's unraveling marriage to Amelia. "Betrayal's a thief," Lena said, swirling her whiskey, "but it leaves room for something new." Lena's resilience struck Jake. She'd opened a cozy eatery in Rhino, pouring her heart into every dish, rebuilding after her ex drained their savings. "You don't erase the hurt," she told him, her eyes kind. "You grow around it, like a tree after a storm." Jake, inspired, started volunteering at a local animal shelter, walking dogs and cleaning kennels alongside Scout. One pup, a scrappy mutt named Rusty, nuzzled his hand, sparking a smile Jake hadn't felt in months. He and Lena met weekly, swapping recipes and memories. Her mom's cornbread, his dad's campfire stories from Wyoming. Their friendship wasn't love, not yet, but it was a tether, grounding him as Denver's skyline glittered with promise. Alex Harper, 27, found refuge in Denver's art scene. His pottery class, a sanctuary from Mia's betrayal. The studio's earthy smell of clay and glaze calmed him, each spin of the wheel a chance to reshape his pain. There, he grew close to Zoe, the sculptor with a quiet strength, her hands steady as she carved stone. Over coffee at Union Station, Zoe shared her own story, a fiancé who'd lied about his double life, leaving her to rebuild in a new city. "You're not Mia's shadow," Zoe said one night as they painted a mural for a community center, vibrant blues swirling under Denver's starlit sky. Her words sank deep, loosening Mia's hold. Alex leaned into his craft, performing poetry at Larimer Square's open mics, his verses raw with healing. One poem about a river carving new paths earned a standing ovation. Zoe's clapped the loudest. He started sketching too, filling notebooks with cityscapes. Denver's bridges, the glow of Coors Field at dusk. Zoe invited him to a gallery show, where her sculptures gleamed under soft lights. "You're finding your voice," she said, nudging his shoulder. Alex wasn't ready for romance, but Zoe's friendship was a beacon, guiding him toward a self he'd forgotten. Denver's rhythm, buskers on 16th Street, the clink of glasses in Lodo, urged him to keep creating, each step a reclaiming of joy. Chloe Bennett, 30, embraced Denver's open spaces, her hikes up Lookout Mountain a balm for Dylan's deceit. The trail's crunch underfoot, the pine-scented air, steadied her racing thoughts. At a hospital fundraiser in Civic Center Park, she met Sam Carter, a 33-year-old paramedic with a crooked grin and a knack for diffusing tension. Over food truck tacos, Sam shared his own scar, a fiancé who'd left him for a coworker, shattering his trust. "It's like losing a limb," he said, tossing a frisbee in Wash Park weeks later. "But you learn to run again." Chloe and Sam's talks grew deeper, from favorite dive bars to childhood dreams. Hers of nursing abroad, his of building a cabin in the mountains. Sam's humor, like when he fumbled a kayak paddle on Chatfield Reservoir, made Chloe laugh until her sides ached, a sound she'd missed. She started a blog, Mending in the Mile High, sharing her journey from Dylan's lies to rediscovery. Readers commented, their stories of resilience echoing hers, knitting a virtual community. "Trust is a muscle," Sam told her, helping hang lights for a hospital gala. "It grows stronger with use." Chloe felt it strengthening, each sunset over Denver's peaks a reminder of her own grit. One evening, fate wove their paths together at a Lodo Street festival, where lanterns glowed and music spilled into the night. Jakey, grabbing a beer with Lena, spotted Alex sketching a juggler, Zoe at his side. Chloe, laughing with Sam over a shared pretzel, waved them over. Under the city's electric hum, they swapped stories. Jake's shelter dogs, Alex's poems, Chloe's blog. Lena raised her glass, her voice warm. "To new beginnings," she said, and they clinked, the Rockies looming like a promise. Denver, with its wide skies and pulsing heart, had caught them in its embrace, turning their pain into possibility. Betrayal had cracked them open, but here, in this moment, they were whole, their futures unwritten but bright. Denver's light showed Jake, Alex, and Chloe that heartbreak isn't the end, it's a doorway.